It's funny because I know there's a lot of people who hate AI, but it's critical to working faster. Like it helps you do your job faster, which means you have more capacity. That doesn't mean there's a very high functioning thinking person on the other end of it, but it does mean it's super necessary if you're going to function at the speed of business as we move forward.
Welcome back to the RevGenAI Podcast. Today I'm joined by Launa Rich from QuickStart.
Eh,
QuickStart helps people and organizations build future ready technology skills through different IT certification trainings, boot camps, and workforce readiness programs with a strong focus on major technology like AI, cloud, and cybersecurity. I'm really excited to dive into today's conversation because of how QuickStart is focused on helping people get up to speed and focus on better skills and really what matters most as far as cyber talent in today's workforce. Lana, it's great to have you. Of
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
course, can you just share for us to begin with what QuickStart does, who do you serve, and really why does the company exist?
Awesome. Yes, happily. So QuickStart is a 35-year-old training company. So we've been out there doing our thing. And 18 months ago, we saw AI coming for us, and we decided we needed to specialize and we needed to provide more than just knowledge. So we really doubled down on this concept of how do we produce skills. So that's where our pivot has been, and that's my go to market focus. We have invested in cyber ranges, we've built a validation engine, all of this stuff so that we can say, okay, great, you got certified, but we also verify that you have this skill because you took this assessment and this is what we got. So that's really what we've been doubling down on. Knowledge is great. Skills are what has to happen though. And that's what we're seeing in the economy.
Hmm. And you just said that before we started talking about how you see the kind of industry as a whole shifting from the knowledge that you have, because again, we have knowledge at our fingertips, the world of knowledge, and really what's important is the skills that you have and what outcomes you can generate. As far as who you sell to, what outcomes do they actually care about when it comes to staffing or training that you're providing?
Yeah. So we're not really staffing, but it's hard to separate because a lot of people are using our platform in order to make sure they're hiring the right person. And it can be really simple. My background is in staffing. Half of it was in cybersecurity staffing. And I would build a SOC, which is, the room where all the alerts come in. It's not a room. That's a metaphor. It used to be a room. And you get all the alerts coming in, and something as simple as knowing how to triage an alert can be simple. Like if you get a notice that Slack has been breached, you probably don't want to follow up with a Slack message. So there's no amount of knowledge. The knowledge is there, it's innate, but the skill to like kind of take that one step farther and execute on it well is what people need in an entry level person. Um, I did market analysis with my network before I started this job full time, and at least half of the CISOs I know prefer to hire entry level. So there's this assumption that they're going to have to train, and they're happy to train. I think the real mystery is where is the baseline? Like what do I train from? What's known? What's unknown? And this training plus assessment structure helps them understand where to go.
Hmm. And what would you say is kind of like the most important meta skill in this age where so many of us need to train into new ways of thinking, new ways of working with AI? What would you say is kind of like the way that you focus and break this down for your programs and actually help people be able to leverage this technology?
Yeah, AI is it's funny because I know there's a lot of people who hate AI, but it's critical to working faster. Like it helps you do your job faster, which means you have more capacity. That doesn't mean there's a very high functioning thinking person on the other end of it, but it does mean it's super necessary if you're going to function at the speed of business as we move forward. Um, I would say that use AI to train yourself and don't resist it. You can, but it's just going to slow you down. It's going to, impede your ability to progress. I'm not saying you're devoid of creativity or anything like that, but you have to use it to make your life simpler. I am probably gonna start cloud coding soon. I'm a salesperson. I was a recruiter. Why do I why would I be cloud coding? Because it's made a huge difference in my life, being able to, automate tasks and set up co-work and all of this stuff. So, I would say first and foremost, embrace it. Second, get it to teach you what to do. Like ask if things are possible. Ask if it's can do this, challenge it to see if it can do that. And then, I would really recommend just looking at how you spend your time and finding ways to automate those tasks instead of spending a lot of time doing like little things.
Yeah. And so is that how you fundamentally measure ROI for your services and the training that you provide is just taking not replacing humans? And I get why a lot of people are afraid of AI. They feel like it's going to replace them, but you kind of need to get involved with it to see that it's just enhancing your skill set and making you more capable, more efficient, more fast. Is the ROI of QuickStart fundamentally just making the humans inside an organization faster, more efficient, more productive?
I think the ROI is teaching people how to use all this stuff that's going on. The two most explosive industries right now in technology are certainly cybersecurity and AI. And that when I say explosive, what it means is tools, 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 right? And how are you supposed to learn how to use these tools? They're overnight, like changing the game all the time. And so that's why learning skills around those tools, or even if possible, a generalized skill set becomes critical, um, because the tool will always change. So what the underlining of that is, what is the skill gonna be? And there's always gonna be, if you buy Google security like Wiz, they probably offer you free training, but then you're just getting training on that one product, which doesn't help if next year that's either an out of date product or you want something else, you want something leaner. That's where a lot of this training gets flushed down the toilet.
Hmm. And so what would you distill as far as like everything that you've learned up until now? Maybe a little bit hard to think on the spot, but what would be the most important generalized skill set in this day and age?
If I'm saying just like outside of technology and everything, if I was going to say something every single person is capable of learning is prioritization. Genuinely feel like that is a huge issue, that most early grads face. They have this knowledge and they sit down at their computer and they open their email and they're like, where do I start? Like, what do I even do? Right. Or they're in deep with something that's cool or fun or maybe even important, and something more important comes along and it gets like avoided. Right. And so this happens to everyone: sales, marketing, cybersecurity. It's a general skill set that I think everyone needs to take a hard look at and realize that's what like makes or break companies is prioritization. So like as an individual, your ability to do that is going to make a big difference in your day, in your weeks, in your career.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that that's a really sharp recommendation because as soon as you start getting into working with AI and thinking about all the ideas that will come to your mind, I've
Yeah.
personally experienced how you can go down so many rabbit holes and waste a lot of time and effort, which is what we're trying to get back with this technology. And being able to really distill what is the most important thing, I think that is truly becoming more and more important. Is focusing on the right problems. So I'm really curious when it comes to your go to market strategy. Um, with all these programs that you're putting in place, how do you prioritize as far as like deciding which accounts are worth pursuing, or what signals tell you that someone's a high fit buyer for your services?
So, from a marketing perspective, there aren't a lot of signals. I will say this: every CISO has a training budget, and every CISO will at some point hire people. That's a given. It's really about, okay, when is when. And so you can use hiring job posts as signals. You can use breaches as signals, although I wouldn't recommend it because everyone's ambulance chasing then. So maybe only on an annual basis. And you can also use cybersecurity purchases. So if someone recently purchased Okta, they're going to need someone who can configure Okta. So that's a great opportunity to sell training. Partnering with bars who sell these software products and these suites, they'll probably have someone come in and stand up the environment, but afterwards there's going to have to be some ongoing support. So what do? Do you train your existing staff, or do you bring in and augment your staff? So those are going to be two choices you have to make. So I think from a signals perspective, that's what we look at. I still think, I think partnerships kind of blew up. Like, it used to be like, cool, partnerships are valuable, and now they just seem very one directional. Like, hey, I'm going to jump on a call and I'm going to tell you about my pen testing service. Can you sell it? Like, there's no like bi-directional partnership anymore. But that's really what you need. You need to be able to have someone who can resell you naturally. And that's kind of where, when I think about who can resell me, that's when I try to distill signals from it.
Hmm. Yeah. And so what would you say is kind of the highest leverage play for QuickStart? Is it finding more true partners, or is it going direct to companies that need more cybersecurity training and selling direct to them?
Yeah. So we have a multi-prong approach, but one piece is certainly my personal network, which is vast. I've been in cyber for 10 years. Um, Another one is my talent network, which is also vast. I was in staffing for 17 years. Um, and then you kind of pivot out. So QuickStart's a 35-year-old company. We have lots of logos, start getting in touch with them. We have partners. We need more. We're doing a ton of events this year. Um, and that has real ROI right now, particularly in cybersecurity, because in cybersecurity, there's this element of trust has to be there, or else nothing's going to work. So the face to face time, knowing about their kids, knowing about their family vacations, knowing all that is just building trust. So it's very inherent. Um, the podcast, which is great, it really helps you display what you're passionate about. And it really is just like market analysis, right? You're sitting there basically trying to improve your product and talking about it. And so you can identify a problem that maybe you didn't even think of and then go and implement it. So that's part of it. We're also doing hiring partners. So like one of our hiring partners, it's a big tech company, and they hire our grads for free. Yay, we trained our grads. We want them to get jobs. Like, that's why we're doing this. So we're happy to provide that service as well. So we have a lot of different angles we take when it comes to getting our foot in the door.
Mhm, mhm. You highlighted something really interesting, though, about how important it is to have trust. Um, how do you feel like things have been changing in 2026 in this AI era when it comes to trust? And what do you feel AI can help when it comes to go to market, outreach, building relationships? And what do you feel still needs the human to actually be involved and to be able to convert that into real pipeline?
So I want everything to be automated, but I usually take one step back from automation and do everything up until. So, for example, I don't know, do you know this? You can download all your data from LinkedIn and get all your first connections. So then I download all my data from LinkedIn. I got all 8,000 connections, and I run it through Claude. And Claude segments out all these CSVs. So all of my CISOs are here, all of my talent leaders are here, all of my cyber vendors are here. So I can message the CISOs and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Or I have a CISO dinner. I can message all my talent people and say, hey, we need hiring partners. Do you want to hire entry level people for free? And I can message all my cyber vendors saying, hey, we're looking for resellers. Are you interested? So I did all of that with AI, but I'm gonna like be very eyes on who's getting messaged because there's a chance I just hung out with him last week, like I just went to an event or something. So we want to make sure it's still curated. But all of that up until then, I helped it organize my strategy and then I keep a very close eye on the automation after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I think it's being able to think of these ideas. First of all, that's a brilliant idea, and I'm going to try it
You should.
after today. But being able to understand what's still important versus what can be automated. Again, prioritization is still really important because you want to be able to leverage just that ability to make to make these hyper targeted campaigns that are really really well informed, but you don't want to spam anybody, and you want to continue to build your brand, build trust at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah.
um
And I think that going back to the trusting, that's what's breaking sales. It's what's broken go to market. It's what's broken hiring. Like my hiring story is I have never applied to a job and I've only gotten one interview outside of my network, period. Every single job I've ever had came from the first job I had in 2007. So, what that means is these people know I can do good work and they hire me to do the good work, right? Like that's how it happens. And that means trust. But how do you replace that in a digital marketplace? It's the same thing with the deal. SaaS ruined it. They would show all these fancy features and everything would be so exciting and then disappointment. Features weren't even implemented yet, right? Um, and then this cybersecurity that just broke so much faster because, that type of validity is really important. So I think that what we have tried to do is like, okay, I can't say this person's going to be perfect, but like, here's what the market does now. They hire people based on a cert. And these are people who don't even believe in certification, right? Because it isn't necessarily a skill set. They're like, at least it limits the pool. It makes the pool smaller. And certs are expensive. So, like, how do we get past that kind of economic barrier? And that's with validating skills. So, go on our platform for free. And if you're an AWS expert, validate that skill and they know you're validated. Um, so, that's how we kind of approach it.
yeah.
Solving trust.
Yeah. I love how you highlighted that the biggest component to trust is doing good work. If you do good work, people will be happy to recommend you. Your network effect will grow on its own. And
Mhm.
if you don't do that, you're working against, a force that will never be able to compound and grow.
Yes.
But I like to ask one question because it gets really creative answers. If you had a magic wand and you could magically solve one of the biggest constraints in QuickStart's growth path currently, what would you focus on specifically on the go to market side?
Hmm. You know what? I actually think I magic wands figured it out like a second ago, like last week. But I think what often happens in bigger companies, which QuickStart's a bigger company, or it's medium sized business, but um is we sell a lot of things. We sell boot camps, we sell to consumers, we sell to higher ed. We have lots of sales happening, and it's hard to get all those people in a room. And it's hard, and if it's hard to get all those people in a room, then it's hard to know which of us are swimming in the same direction. And I think it's really important that if I just was like, oh, you do B2B sales? I do B2B sales. Why don't I know you do B2B sales, right? So then I can help them with my network and we can just what I called back in the day cross-pollinate. Oh, okay, you're talking to that person. So they don't want certs. Do they want it to be a hiring partner? We can have these conversations that are more robust and have a foot in the door as opposed to me just kind of swimming in my lane and hoping I get there, right? So I just think that that's really important, and I think it's something all companies struggle with now. We're all international. We're all a lot of us are remote. All of us are innovating. So making sure that you really do have close ties into the people who are selling to the same people is really important. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but we have to know what's going on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, and building that reciprocity with the right relationships, and that's where really you can get into the right room. It's just sometimes you need to know the right person who can make that introduction and build a relationship with them. It can be a very high leverage move. So yeah, just to wrap things up here, I know you mentioned fundamentally the most important skill right now is prioritization. But if you were to talk to say a CISO or any leader who needs to bring their employees up to speed and really kind of take them through this paradigm shift, really move them forward, what would be the best practical advice that you could give them to really be able to sharpen their focus on how to actually help their employees evolve?
Yeah, I mean, um, I think most CISOs know there are gaps. The standard approach to solving those gaps has been hiring their way out, and that doesn't work. There's just too many hiring is like a really long sales cycle. Like it just doesn't solve a problem very quickly. And then there still is inherent risk when you do hire that person as to whether or not that hire will solve the problem, right? So there's a lot of reasons why that doesn't work. And then there was this pursuit of tools. We're gonna tool our way out of it, and we all know that doesn't work. It just creates sprawl. None of it talks to each other. It's one one endpoint detection device or platform has this number of assets and another one has a completely different number. Like what are we doing? So I think that's where upskilling is a very underutilized tool. I often say you really don't know what people are capable of. I definitely didn't think 2026 had me building AI agents and cloud coding. Like, that was definitely not on the bingo card at all. I'm shocked that it's gonna happen. So I just can't limit what you think people are capable of. Give them the opportunity to upskill themselves and then, use them for weapons that you need in your arsenal against all these breaches. The other thing I would say is there's no amount of AI cybersecurity tooling that's going to prevent an AI breach. It's going to be the human level response. I think a lot of times people imagine AI is like a robot in Korea. No, it's a person. It's still a person there using AI tools, just like we're going to have a person there using AI defense tools to protect against the attack. So, getting that training specifically this year is going to be critical. So the speed of response is just going to have to be right, and that's where it goes back to skills. Okay, great. You might catch the alert, but 30 seconds of downtime, that's a breach. It's an enormous amount of data. So it's either a containment issue or it's going to have to be, can we detect it earlier? All of these things are, have to be in the skill set at this point.
Yeah, definitely. I think you left us with a lot of food for thought. Thank you so much, Lana, for the conversation today, and really sharpening the whole entire yeah aspect of training up through
Mhm.
this technological revolution that we're going through. For anyone who wants to connect with you, where's the best place for them to reach out?
LinkedIn. I'm always there, creepily, like a recruiter. He's been doing this for too long.
Perfect. All right. Well, if anybody's interested, I hope they reach you there. And yeah, thank you so much, Lana.